The 5 main things that insurance companies don't want you to know as a consumer starts with 1, loyalty doesn't matter to insurance companies. Remember, these are not nonprofit companies. They're there to make as much money as they can, and what used to be considered loyalty doesn't exist anymore, at least 99% of the time. But Mark, I get a loyalty discount on my insurance, so what are you talking about? Well, think about this. Whenever you join an insurance company, even the one I'm with, I love the company, they do great coverage, all of those things. When I joined them, I got a loyalty discount. Now, over the next 3, sometimes 5 years, they slowly increase the rate because the loyalty discount is a temporary discount. That means the longer that you're with them, that discount goes up 2 to 3% on average. So that loyalty really goes away after 3 to 5 years, depending on the insurance company. Some companies don't even offer a loyalty discount. The only one that I've seen that has improved is Progressive, because they actually give you a loyalty program. And it's really a long-term thing where they don't give you a discount today. They give you a discount when you've been with them for so long, the longer you go. So you start to get accident forgiveness, you start to get into like these emerald and gold memberships and all of these little features. They're not necessarily giving you discounts as far as cost. They're just giving you more coverage in case something major does come down the road. With most companies, they'll give you the discount up front. Could be 5, 10, sometimes 15% off, but that 15% in 5 years will go back down to 0. What some people have figured out that every 5 years it is good to shop. Some people do it 3, some people do it every year. Not necessarily ideal, because you do get discounts when you join a new company when you've been with an old company. For example, if you've been 5 years with State Farm and you go to Allstate, that 5-year credit will probably play a factor on the price that you're going to pay now. Just remember, if Allstate is offering a loyalty program, that probably goes away in 5 years anyways. The second one is credit does play a factor, as much as you don't want to say it, as much as I say it on this channel. It's called an insurance score, and the insurance score is centered around your credit. They have tied credit to the ability to pay and history and all of those things. I get it. It doesn't make sense. It's kind of one of those unfortunate pieces. A lot of people don't believe that credit should play a factor. And to answer your question, yes, they've outlawed it in almost every single state. However, they've taken that and created an insurance score. So the combat to that is it includes a part of your credit, so your credit history, and then it also includes accident history and claims history and tickets and things that you've had. But to be honest with you, the better I see your credit, the cheaper the price ends up being. Number 3 is the biggest one that I see people don't realize, is you can actually negotiate your rates. Now, you call an agent and they'll cuss me out because I said that, because it's not technically negotiation. You have the ability to shop with multiple places, multiple carriers, multiple companies. There's probably 100 in your state. If you were to go to the top 5, that's usually 5 that are major companies, because in all honesty, some of them have sub-companies, where if you find a deal with X, Y, and B company, they're probably under one of the umbrellas of a major company. That's why Nationwide and State Farm and Allstate and Progressive and Safeco and all these major brands, the Liberty brands, all of those guys tend to play really heavily because they are, one, the big ones that have an easier risk to hold, so the price is usually cheaper, but also they have better service in most cases, not all, but in a lot of cases. And they probably own the sub company that you're going to end up with anyways, so they probably give you that deal either which way. But what you have as far as power to negotiate is to take that and shop it with another company. When you are shopping, 1, make sure you trust the agent, because you've got to know that they're giving you the right coverage. 2, understand that price isn't the only factor in this. You have to cover yourself, or you should want to cover yourself properly if you know the coverages you need. Now we can go into step 3, which is also to shop with multiple companies. If we know the coverages, we trust the agents we're talking to, then we can take that and take our profile, our cars, our location, our credit history, all of those things that make up that profile. We can start looking at different options that are available to us. The best way to do that is to shop with independent agents. If you want to save the most time, is work with an independent agent who can do that with multiple companies. Most independent agents work with at least 5, some even 20 different companies. They can shop you with Cure Auto, they can shop you with Progressive, they can do Safeco, some can do Allstate, they can do Nationwide. They can take that profile plug it into their software, and it tells them who's going to be the better cost, and they can determine which one's the better fit. If you are looking for an agent like that, I'll put a link in the description below where you can work with an independent agent that's able to do the shopping for you so you don't have to pay those extra costs. The fourth is during the claims process. If you've had an accident or some sort of claim, insurance is known for lowballing the value of your vehicle. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them have good intentions and just their programs are not necessarily designed to benefit you. What I mean by that is they're not trying to scam you. It's what they're trying to do is they're getting down to the nitty-gritty. And most of the time, the nitty-gritty doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting the exact vehicle that you had, and they're not necessarily getting the exact value that your car is worth. What you're going to find is if you do the shopping, it's essentially what the value of your car, it's called actual cash value. How much is the car actually worth at the time of the incident or the time of the claim? If the value is $10,000 in their system, you go to the lot, and if you can't find your same car for $10,000 and it's $12,000, then you really have to have that conversation with your insurance to say, wait a minute, I know you're rating in your software and it tells you all the local cars and all that, but I can't find my car for what you're saying it's worth. That means in my area that the value of my car is 12, not 10. If you are in that process, I'll link a video at the end that goes over how to handle claims adjusters because it's a little bit of a struggle to get through that process. They are known for not necessarily paying the claims correctly, so that might help you at least get through that process. Just understand that the claims adjuster or underwriters, they're not necessarily there against you, they just have to fit the rules, and sometimes they have to understand that they gotta break out of those. Number 5 is not all insurance companies necessarily tell you all of the discounts that are available. I'll also link that video at the end that goes over those main discounts, but those are big pieces, and I don't think it's necessarily a strategy that insurance companies are trying to do. I think what it is they're usually either A, overwhelmed, or B, the insurance agent isn't trained properly. If they don't understand that if you're a credit union member, there's a discount with probably every company. If you're a CPA, that's a really big discount. If you're an engineer, if you are part of the Harley Davidson Club, all of these different pieces that you could be part of, depending on the company, not all of them necessarily do every discount, but there are discounts. Typically when you go to Progressive, there's almost none because they just give you the lowest rate that they can without adding the discounts. When you go to your higher tier companies like Nationwide and Safeco or Allstate or those companies, you're going to find that they try to add alumni discounts and different discounts that allow people that think they're lower risk to get a better deal. Or if you're shopping a Farmers Insurance company, they work with different companies. At least when I was there, they used to work with Chrysler. And so if you're a Chrysler employee, because they came as a bundle, we have 30,000 employees, we want a deal, give us that discount code that we can work with your company. So depending on how large of a group that came to that insurance company, there are some that give better deals. The one misconception that people typically have is that teachers typically get the best deal, and that is semi-true, but it used to be that only certain companies give a discount for that. Just about every company gives a discount for that, and it's pretty large. So if you are a teacher, talk to your independent agent or fill out the quote below and let them know that you're a teacher so that you can get some sort of deal or at least see what options you have available. There's 2 bonus ones that I wanted to add to the end, which is if you work with an insurance company during a claim, you don't necessarily have to use the mechanical shop that they recommend. Those are recommendations. I personally like to use the ones they do. I'll maybe review them and look them up first to make sure they're legit, but they typically work with insurance companies because there's a high standard. They want that car fixed in record time. They want that car fixed for the least cost for the insurance company, but they also want that car fixed correctly so you don't have a problem because they are tying themselves or their name to that mechanical shop. There's people put in place to make sure that the quality's there. So it's kind of that extra step that insurance companies give. I personally like it. Again, you don't have to use them. If you have a friend that you trust a lot more than that, you can go to those insurance companies. Just know that if they're over or they're gouging the prices, they're likely going to have some issues with the company. That's why a lot of mechanic shops don't necessarily like certain companies. That being said, all you mechanics are going to hate me for this, but in my opinion, I have not seen many mechanics who have hated a company that have been correct. A lot of times it's the agent that didn't write the correct coverage or didn't give the right package that denied some pieces there. There's OEM parts, there's all these options that agents can add, and if you don't do it correctly, it's going to be a headache for the mechanic shop and it's going to be a headache for the customer. And the final bonus tip is a little bit of a secret because insurance companies don't want you to understand that if you have too many claims, you're going to get dropped. And when we say dropped, canceled, you're non-renewed, that means insurance will no longer be optional with the company you're with. If you like the company, understand their policy. A lot of companies have 5 strikes and out. Some have 3, mostly 5. If you have 5 claims or 5 incidences in the past 3 years, a lot of companies will non-renew you because honestly, they can't make a profit on you anymore. And they've probably paid tens of thousands, if not more, during claims. Now they kind of see that risk as too risky for their insurance panel to take in. Just be careful if you are filing claims. Towing and road service don't always qualify, although I've oddly enough seen some companies do count those. Those can be argued through because you can get memberships outside of their insurance company that can kind of waive those away. So talk to the agent if you have several towing claims. A lot of towing comes with just about anyone out there. If that's a concern and you've had a lot of those, then leave that off of the insurance because you don't want it to play the number factor. You could have 5 towing claims and they may not renew you where none of them were really more than $100. So you've had very low cost and you're still a good customer, but because their system is a system, it's an automation, it's a trigger that happens, it's a red flag, and they're not going to go individually and check it. It's just going to trigger an auto non-renewal. Agents can call and find out why and figure that out for you. But in general, you just got to know that that's possibly playing a factor. Those are the main ones. Like I said, if you are looking about filing a claim and you're trying to figure out that whole process, I've got a claims video that will help you there. If you are looking for more discounts that I mentioned earlier, here's some 10 discounts that you can look at as well. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.